You are now listening to the Minority Trailblazer podcast. Let the story begin.
One time for the lovers, two times for the ladies, three times for the brothers, four times for the babies. Do you love her? 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 One time for the lovers, two times for the ladies, three times for the brothers, four times for the babies. Do you love her? 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 Brown skin, love her brown skin, love her brown. Brown skin, love her brown skin, love her brown. She my brown skin, love her brown skin, love her brown. She my brown skin, love her brown skin. Hold me down.
Welcome to the Minority Trailblazer podcast, and I'm your host, Greg E. Hill, the culture change agent. On this show, we interview young, successful minorities in a variety of fields to educate, empower, and inspire our current and future generation of leaders. And today, I got a show for you, man. I'm excited to have this brother on. It's been a couple years since we rap, man, but I saw him. Luckily, Facebook is still good for a lot of stuff nowadays outside of like business advertising. And he popped up on my feed. I was like, man, I got to connect with the brother. We met a couple years back. And shout out to Eric Thomas, man. We met a couple years back at a brunch in BU. We hit it off. I haven't talked to him in a while. And then I was like, I looked him online. I was like, yo, he'd be perfect to have on the show because over the last couple years, and I'm going to read a snippet of his bio, he's done some amazing work, first and foremost with his company, but actually first and foremost with his family. So I can't wait to dive in. It's going to be a phenomenal interview. It's going to be a classic. You heard it here first, classic. So he's a graphic designer, brand consultant, and CEO of 120 Design Studio, which is one of the highest rated graphic design agencies in the United States. His agency specializes in helping authors, speakers, coaches, and solopreneurs in two major areas where they consistently fall short at: their visual brand identity and online presence. His keen sense of design and attention to detail helps his clients increase brand awareness, credibility, and most importantly for entrepreneurs and people out there in businesses, sales. In less than 3 years since entering the graphic design space, he has helped over 300 clients and has built 120 Design Studio into a six-figure agency. Him and his team enjoy helping their clients ensure the quality of their visual brand match the quality of their services, products, and other offerings. And when he is not sipping coffee and obsessing over color palettes, he's spending time with his wife and 4 children. I did not misquote that. And this is a young brother, right? So without further ado, I would like to introduce Marshall Fox to the Minority Trailblazer podcast, man. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, brother. I'm excited to be here. I knew when we first met back in, I think it was 2016.
Yeah, 2016.
That you were a different kind of cat, man. So it's just been amazing to see what you've done with this podcast. And I'm just happy to share this platform with you. Thank you.
Yeah, and the crazy thing about it is, did I meet you at the beginning of you starting your business or right before you did?
It was just before. It was just before. I actually joined BU the day I left my full-time job to jump into insurance sales. So I was still a couple months out from this whole thing.
Got you. And side note, I know we'll get into the podcast, but do you still do insurance sales as well?
No, sir. No, that ended abruptly.
So I guess we'll definitely talk about that, man. So
yes, sir.
It's exciting news, man. So as we always do with our show, we like to start the show off with some energy, with some buzz. So can you share with our audience a quote or a mantra that you live by, and then a story about how you apply that quote or mantra to your everyday life?
A good one that I'm thinking of, and if you're familiar with me or if you follow me on Instagram or anything like that, one of my main mantras is, if you don't kill it, your family won't eat. And that's taken right from Dr. Eric Thomas. Man, I love that. I have that on my wall. I have a canvas. I look at that every day because it's just a reminder. And like you said, I have 4 children. I have a wife. If I don't kill it, every time I want to slack off or chill or maybe just scroll on social media or do something that's not productive or not putting me in the right position or pushing me in the right direction at that given moment, I just think about that, man. If you don't kill it, your family won't eat. Like my wife's a stay-at-home mom. I got 4 kids, 3 of which are ages 3 and under. So they depending on me. So if I'm slacking off, that's less revenue coming in. The business isn't doing as well. That's less vacations. That's less impact. So I just think about that all the time. That's one of the mantras that really drives me on a day-to-day basis.
Man, so let's just jump right in. So can you share with our audience a little bit about who you are and where you come from, man?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So like you said, I'm Marshall Fox, 30 years old, been married over 10 years. I have 4 beautiful children. Living in Northern Maryland, was born and raised in Baltimore. I'm in the graphic design space, like you shared already. I've been doing this it's coming up on 3 years. It hasn't even been 3 years yet. It's crazy even saying that. But like I alluded to earlier, all my adult life, so I was in private sector. So I was in security and loss prevention. My most recent corporate gig was managing a fraud investigations team at a credit union here in Maryland. But around that time, I started really getting into personal and professional development and reading a lot of books. I discovered Eric Thomas around that time. I'm sure the listeners to this podcast know who that is. So
definitely.
Yeah, I was getting up early, the whole 9, working out, praying, reading. So I felt invincible at the time. I felt like I could run through a brick wall. So I said to my wife, I said, hey, I'm leaving my full-time job on April 1st. This is February 22nd, 2016. I said, I'm leaving the job on April 1st. She said, no, you're not. You're crazy.
And at the time, how many kids you had?
We had 2 at the time. We had 2 at the time.
Okay.
Yo,
So you get up. No, you crazy. You've been listening to ET.
Man, look, when I tell you no savings, no cushion, no nothing. I did have an insurance license. I was like, I'm leaving. I felt, I wasn't really the 9-to-5 type. Even though I was appreciative for that gig and the relationships that I built while I was there. But I said, I'm leaving. I want to take my destiny and my income and all of that into my own hands. And luckily, I had my father to kind of help and guide me. He's been in the insurance industry for over 30 years. So I was going to join the company that he worked with. So he has like a small agency. I was like, I'm going to help him build that. And we're going to do big, great things. So left my full-time job on April 1st. That day is the day I joined Breathe University. And, we met, I think, less than 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
So, I'm joining BU. I'm meeting these people. And I'm like, yeah, man, I'm gonna kill it in insurance. So to my credit, I did have a couple great months, and I was even the top producer for a couple months early on, and then I felt flat on my face. Not to get into the details, but they have what are called leads that you pay for. So people who call in when they see the commercial on TV and they want you to come out and see them. And what the type of insurance we were selling is final expense insurance. So that's small face amount, whole life insurance mainly for seniors. So those seniors who are, older in age and they didn't really save anything for their funeral, they just want to have like $10,000 for a funeral. We were selling that type of insurance. So I spent a lot of money on some leads in a neighborhood that was not so friendly to my kind, if you know what I mean. So it was right around the Trump election, and I couldn't sell one policy. So I bought a bunch more leads trying to dig myself out of that hole and got into a deeper hole, then a deeper hole. Man, it was a dark time. This is the first time in my adult life that I'm looking at tons of unpaid bills. They're calling about the car, getting ready to come get the car. It was just a dark time.
And
but
this is you with 2 kids.
Yep.
Fresh off the first couple months, man. You pumped up. You got the motivation already. You got the pound for pound, the best motivational speaker in the planet. You got a community of people around here, but it's like, hold up. You already had the 3 months hit a wall.
Yep. So I had a choice to make. I said, all right, so either I keep going. And honestly, people in sales in general and in insurance, they go through ups and downs like this. So, I wasn't going to give up by any means, and even after I started the graphic design, like I was still selling insurance for a couple months, but things picked up so quickly that I had to basically stop. But just to rewind just a little bit, my wife said, I'll go back to work and I'll get a job, I'll help out. And I knew at that point that I had to man up. I had to make something happen. And she said, you know what, why don't you do graphic design? And I said, what do you mean? She said, you're gifted at that. It's something you're always interested in. Every time we go out, you're looking at a sign or a menu or something and say, oh, that's terrible. I could do that better. She said, why don't you do that? And I said, no, I don't have the experience. I didn't go to school for it. every excuse in the book. I even Googled the average salary, and it was like $60,000 for graphic design. I said, no, I can't feed my family off of that. I can't do it. But I said, you know what? I'll give it a shot. So I did a logo for somebody in Embry University, YB. Say, hey man, you mind if I take care? I'll give you a couple concepts for your logo. I think it could use some work. He said, go for it. So I created a couple logo design concepts and shared it with him. He said, you know what? This is hot. I like this. So he shared the logo in the community and on his LinkedIn network, and things just exploded. I got referral after referral after referral. Within a couple months, I had like 40 clients, and it was just nuts. Wow. Everything I was doing was the first time I was doing it. So somebody needed a book cover, somebody needed a website. So I was really learning on the go. And things, we went from like literally zero to over $10,000 a month within 2 months. So, wow. Things kind of blew up from there. I'll kind of pause, but yeah, that's how things kind of started for me in this space just a couple years ago.
Man, so that's already off the jump a riveting story, man. So let's take it to that moment where, all right, were there particular things? Was it that one conversation with your wife that sparked like, all right, let's go in that direction? And what was that first day like? All right, cool. So I don't have nowhere to start. What even drove you to ask in the community, hey, let's go ahead and make that happen? Like, what was it? Was it a drastic change, or was it just one conversation? You lead it with intuition, and then also two, how long have you been in graphic design before that? Prior?
Yeah. So to answer your first question, man, what drove me was just being at rock bottom for the first time. Like I grew up middle class, never really missed a meal, so I never really had that rock bottom. We always hear those stories, and we all have them. I heard about yours, Greg. I don't know if it was through an interview or something, but we all have that rock bottom. But I never had one until that summer. Mm-hmm. And I was looking at my kids and my wife, and just knowing that I had to man up. I wasn't going to send her back to work. I'm a traditional type of guy. I knew when I brought her home that I wanted her to stay home. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. If she wanted to get a job, it's not because she needed to. It would be because she wanted to. Mm-hmm. So I was that type of guy. So that's really what drove me. So all the fear and reservations that I had prior to that, that's really what drove me. So I just reached out. I was going to find somebody, and who's going to say no to a free logo? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yup.
Once you got the logo, you got your first one, and the power of community. We want to talk about. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and jump right there. And right now, for our audience listening, what do you, not only in the Breathe University, but what is your thoughts on the power of community and really utilizing community? Because there's people out here that even if they don't have a Breathe University, which they can join Breathe University, and it'll be in the show notes. Bump it. I love ET. Boom. It's going to be in the show notes too. But there's people out there that either A, are in the community and not utilizing it, or B, they say to themselves, I don't have a community for my service, etc. Can you speak on the power of community, and then also too, how can people start to utilize their own community?
And I could talk for hours and hours on end about this alone, because this was something that was extremely critical to, mm-hmm. Propelling my career and life to where it is now. Is the community. It's literally everything. But I think it's twofold, because it's one thing to have a community, and it's another thing to, be in the right community. And I think I was in a fortunate position to have found the right community at the right time. You know what I'm saying? So just to be surrounded with those with like minds, with similar goals and ambitions, with similar struggles, not only to learn from them and have them help build me up, but to also teach someone something and help build them up. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So that's something that I really appreciate and find value in with the few communities that I'm a part of, online at least. And also, you never know who you'll meet. I was one connection away from my whole life changing, and that was with YB, who I found through that community. He was also at the meetup as well, in Maryland when you mm-hmm. came up. So it's everything. You never know who you'll meet, and you never know whose life you can change by getting connected and getting active in certain communities.
And I think you said something big. You're everybody typically is one connection away. Like mm-hmm. he didn't ask you for, hey, so all right, cool. You say you do this. Let me see your website. Let me see this. Let me see that. So what caused you, A, to do free work from the jump, and then two, how from that situation now you have all these clients and this is new to you. How'd you keep going as far as making processes, et cetera? Like, how was that first year?
Man, so luckily, having that connection initially is really what gave me a lot of the credibility. So when he posted that logo, I kind of had him vouching for me. So people trusted me, without really having seen anything. I did have a couple people that said, you know what, this isn't a good fit right now. I don't really see a lot of what I need from you. You know what I'm saying? Like it's from portfolio wise or process wise or what have you. I asked him. I said, you gotta have faith in me. And some people elected not to, and that was fine. I was in my feelings a little bit, in a couple situations, but luckily I had enough business coming to me where it wasn't a big issue. But like I said, I was figuring a lot of things out on the fly. Even pricing, and I have what I call now the Fox freelance formula is with those initial clients, I look for a few specific things. I look for, of course, a dope portfolio piece, but I also look for some referrals from that client. If I was doing something for them for free, I look for, a good review or testimonial, and I look for repeat business. And of course, they turn into a brand ambassador as well. If you do something dope for somebody and you don't charge them or you give them a heavy discount, of course they're going to be a mouthpiece. Of course they're going to be a brand ambassador. And honestly, YB, now we're business partners, and we're still connected to this day. He's become like a brother to me, all because I did something for him for free. So those first few clients, it was a similar situation. I'm not saying everybody was free initially, but they were heavy discounts. I didn't even really know. I was like, how much does a logo cost? I don't know. How much should I charge? How much is a book cover? How much is a website? So those clients really served to give me a solid foundation as I was figuring things out business wise. And I took a course. It was like a master class on freelancing, and it really paved the way for my processes that are still in place right now when it comes to client onboarding, and then the whole client process, and then delivery and post project. So that was instrumental. Don't be afraid to invest in yourself. Like I think we were down to like our last $500, and I spent that on that master class, just to learn.
Was it in Brieview? Or was it another person?
No, it was separate. It was Freelance Domination by Daniel D. Piazza. Some of you may know him. So yeah, that course has been instrumental in the foundation of how we do business. So yeah, man, it's been a crazy journey, and I'm just enjoying it.
And then what, outside of course the bedrock moment, even with the success, what were some of the toughest moments you didn't even expect starting out? Like even, or so say this is after, okay, now you are from 0 to literally 10,000 in the first couple months. It's like, whoa, this is real money. We good now. Like, what was some of the tough moments between there? Because as optics change now, tough moments may not necessarily be financial. They may be other ones. Because I think we always talk about as entrepreneurs, not always, but in certain circles, the obstacles of getting funding, getting your first clients, financial. But there becomes a whole different subset of other issues and problems that you have to address and find solutions to once you get started, and once you get started actually making money.
Yeah, man. So it's several, as I'm sure your listeners know. So one of the ones that comes to mind is that, sounds good. Okay, yeah, we're a 6-figure agency, but over $100,000 is not that much money. Like, it sounds good when you're not making it, but when you are, and then you have tons of expenses, you realize it's really not that much. So, having great months, 10, 15, $20,000 months, and then you travel a couple times, go to a few conferences, or you do some marketing, hire an employee, that money's gone. You know what I'm saying? So just learning that, seeing that firsthand, the kind of roller coaster that it can be financially with clients, and as certain things are kind of seasonal, or you may have a couple great months and then a couple slower months. Seeing that, and then a second one is I'm not sure if you've heard of Imposter Syndrome, but that's something that I've kind of dealt with because everything did happen so fast. I sit there and I think like, man, is this thing gonna just blow up all of a sudden? Is this thing gonna come crashing down? Is this bubble gonna burst? You know what I'm saying? I don't have the formal training. It's just negative talk, really. I don't have the formal training. When somebody comes and calls me out, say, man, you don't have any formal training. What are you doing? I could come and design circles around you. Just thinking negatively too often, that stuff kind of creeps up on me as well, and it'll keep you up at night. But that's something that now that I know what it is, it's something that I try to stay ahead of. And once I start having those thoughts, just realize, man, that's just imposter syndrome. Don't listen to that. You do deserve everything that you have, everything that's coming to you. You are somebody. You are a subject matter expert. You are somebody of influence. So just trying to have more positive self talk versus letting that imposter syndrome creep in. But that's something that I wasn't aware of until this thing started popping off.
And how would you say you evolved the most personally? Also, and we're gonna get to the family side later, so you don't have to hit the family side. But personally, over the last 3 years, due to the business, and then from a business perspective, like what has the business taught you personally, and it caused you to grow, like the areas, and then from a business perspective, what in the beginning you weren't that sharp on, but now like a area like, yo, I know this inside and out. This is my thing. I run to that.
That's a good question. I will say this. It's not something that, as far as being an expert at one particular, it's not something that just happens. It takes time. And I actually did the math. Over the past almost 3 years, I've reached 10,000 hours in this gift, in this craft. And now I feel like I could talk about branding, logo design, web design all day long, but it's not something that kind of just happened all at once. It's something that's kind of gradually happened over time. And a lot of it has come with working with tons and tons of clients, seeing their pain points, seeing areas that they're weak in, and helping them strengthen those areas. So it's something that just kind of come over time, like just being a subject matter expert in certain areas.
And how do you stay sharp now? Like, okay, you're 3 years in, you still got a long, God willing, a long roadway ahead of you. But how do you, okay, Breathe University, great community. Then you have ET providing what he provides. What other things do you do to stay sharp as far as a business perspective, but also too person? Like, how do you keep your edge?
Man, so when it comes to the business, I would say, and this is something that's been pretty consistent, is just doing a lot of reading. You know what I'm saying? But now I don't read as many books, but I read fewer books, and I try to apply the principles from those books. So I may take a month or two on one book just to slowly read through it and apply the principles, and go back and check to see if what I'm applying is working. So that's one thing. And then from a personal perspective, I'm just always working on myself. I know a lot of us, especially if you listen to this podcast, we're all about self-development, self-improvement. But something that I struggle with the most is consistency. So I may start a workout program, for example, or and I'll fall off like halfway through. So that's something that I'm constantly trying to tackle. So that is something that's been helping me stay sharp as well. It's just continuing to improve myself and improve my consistency, because it'll spill over into other areas of life. If I'm consistently working out on a daily basis, even if I don't want to, and I've started to not be so hard on myself. So if I set goals, it's not like, okay, you don't have to work out at 4:00 a.m. If you just commit to working out every day at some point, and make that a habit, then you'll see positive results. So it's starting to pour over in other areas of life. It's like, okay, make sure you're spending X amount of time with your kids every single day. Make sure you're doing activities on the weekends, and don't let work consume you all hours of every day. So, that having that like consistency at the root is really something that helps to keep me sharp.
And I meant to ask you this at the beginning of the podcast, but how do you personally define success?
How do I personally define success? It's a statement, and I don't want to misquote it, but it's basically doing what I love every single day, being surrounded with those who I love and those who love me, being where I'm celebrated, not where I'm tolerated, living life on my own terms, having the freedom. It's sometimes where I'm just driving down the street, or I'm going to Panera Bread or something. I'm like, man, what if I was at my 9 to 5 right now? Or what if I had to deal with rush hour? Man, the other day, I drove down to see my grandmother, who was in the hospital. And she's in Southern Maryland. I'm in Northern Maryland, so it's about an hour and a half drive. And I got stuck in some traffic. I'm like, man, I ain't really been in no traffic in about 2 years. Like, I was just so appreciative of how my life is now compared to how it was. And it's little things like traffic that'll really make you appreciate, where I am. Because it's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day and the hustle and bustle of entrepreneurship, just real and forgetting about where you came from. Like, I could be in bumper to bumper traffic in the morning, then in the evening. And if you've had a 9 to 5, you know how that is. That's like hours and hours a day.
Yeah.
That time adds up.
Especially in DC.
Exactly. You get it. Yep.
So what do you do now in your bad days? The days, when I say bad, challenging moments in days, as opposed to, would you say, probably like 3 years ago?
Now, so it's crazy you say that, because yesterday was one of those type of days for me, honestly. And I found that, what I try to do, I find lessons in everything. And I know that if I'm feeling a certain type of way, I have to get to the root of it. Say, okay, why am I feeling this way? Then I may discover that I'm overwhelmed, I'm stressed. Okay, why am I overwhelmed and stressed? Okay, so you put too many projects on your plate. You schedule too many calls this day, so you feel like you can't get any work done because you have 7, 8 calls. So once I do that, I outline that. I just have to make the adjustments. And also, I just have to be more grateful for the positives. There's so many positives. I'm like, come on, man, what are you complaining about? You work from home. You have this beautiful office, this beautiful home. Your wife's home. Your wife's upstairs. Your kids are upstairs. You know what I'm saying? Just take a break. Take a breather. Go spend some time with them. Then come back down. Go work out. Then come back. This will be here. So it's just thinking about the positives. Because there's so many, man. Every day above ground is a day to be grateful for. You know what I'm saying? So, that's something that I try to do to stay on top of that. Before, it wasn't like that. You're at the will of somebody else who's calling the shots. So you have a bad day. It's just a bad day. Come home. You may be short with the wife, the kids, and they don't deserve that. You know what I'm saying? So, that's something that that's how I'm different now than I was before.
And looking back now, knowing what you know now, and if you had a chance to talk to yourself before you started the business, man, what are 2 to 3 points that you would kind of give to yourself?
I know one would be, don't spend the money so fast.
Oh my God. We can talk about that for day. I mean, I say 10 grand when I first jumped out. I think there's a little bit after I met you. By that time I met you, I was on like 300. And it was like 2 months. And I was like, I don't know what happened to the money. And I wasn't like buying anything crazy. You can only do so much with 10 grand. But yeah, nah, I feel you. So what brought you to that? Like, so give us the point and then break us down with a story or an illustration on that point so we can kind of be there with you.
Yeah, so one example I kind of alluded to earlier was, last year I noticed that I did a lot of traveling. I'm not gonna say unnecessarily, but so for those who don't know, so 120 Design Studio, so we're partnered with Eric Thomas, so and Eric Thomas and Associates. So just having that connection, and that didn't happen right away. That happened after a few months of me adding value into the community. Then they approached me and said, "Hey, why don't we join forces? To help you out." So I prayed about it, talked to my wife, and we kind of joined forces and we formed 120 Design Studio. That's where 120 comes from, if you're familiar with Eric Thomas and the whole 120 lifestyle, 120 philosophy. So that's the name that we chose. But I was doing a lot of traveling. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to say like a groupie, but, I was at the conferences and whatnot. I'm like, hey, I can go for free. I'm going to go. So, and a couple of them, when I say for free, I mean not have to pay admission. But, a couple of them, we had a table set up and whatnot. But yeah, I was doing a lot of traveling, different conferences and whatnot. Then I look back, I'm like, man, we spent a lot of money. I have an employee, and we would go together. Or I had bring somebody else in. But then it's like, okay, so what was the return on investment? And it really wasn't any. You know what I'm saying? It really wasn't. I mean, we had a little bit, but it wasn't enough to cover what we spent. So that's just one example of how went through a lot of money. So now I'm a lot more conservative with that, and I'm trying to be more strategic with how we spend money. And my wife, she's like our CFO, and she's way better with it than I am, as I'm sure a lot of our spouses are. So, and another thing, let me think. What would the second point be? If I had to go back, I would say, okay, jump on a recurring revenue model faster. It's something that we're starting to look at right now. But a lot of our projects, they're like, lump sum payment. So
And it looks good for a second because you're like, woo, the checks come in. But then it's like those slow months is like, I can still add value. You can be adding value to someone else, but it's different when you got that every. That's the only thing about a 9 to 5 that I do miss. It's like every 2 weeks, you could had a horrible week. You could do nothing at work. You could just be on Facebook. That check was coming in. But is it like you said at the beginning, if you don't kill something as an entrepreneur and you don't have no subscription model or something else, bruh, the months, $1,000, $5,000 months, some things hurt.
Yep. Or even the $10,000-$15,000 months that you kill it, it still hurts because you exhausted at the end of the month. You know what I'm saying? It's like, wow, I had to basically kill myself to get here. If we had recurring revenue, or let's say we had half of this was recurring, it was just coming in like, first of the month or whatever, it wouldn't be as exhausting.
And then so let's switch tables real quick, man. So we got 120 Design Studio, but on the other half, you mentioned before, man, you're 30 years old, you've been married for 10 years. Before we even get to the kids, 10 years, man. What was in your system to get you married so early, man? Like, what is like break that down for us if you can.
So yeah, we gonna keep it a buck. We got married because my wife got pregnant. Well, she got pregnant. I got her pregnant at the time. We were 19.
Oh wow.
Yeah, when she got pregnant with our oldest son, we trying to do the right thing in the eyes of the Lord, get married. So that was really the reason we got married. But by the grace of God, man, things worked out for us, man. Like we, our relationship really strengthened over time. And my son, he came. I just went into grind mode, man. I actually started out at Target as security, 120 pounds soaking wet. At in the middle, in the heart of Baltimore, man. So I got all up.
And Baltimore is a different, bruh.
Yeah, bruh. Let's leave it at that. But yeah, man, I worked my way up in Target over the years into management before transitioning over to the credit union. But yeah, man, that's why we got married, to keep it 100. We're not gonna sugarcoat it. But yeah, man, we've been inseparable, man. We've been together for 12 years now, but married 10. But yeah, my wife is my rock, man. She is my rock. She keeps me sane, and I give her so much credit because she's the reason I'm doing this. If it was up to me, I wouldn't be doing this. She's the one that pushed me into this, and really gave me the encouragement and the support that I needed at the time. So, I owe this all to her and God, of course.
And how did you open yourself? And this is a question I have to ask. How did you open yourself up to receive support? Because and I put myself out there, and sometimes where it's crazy with my friends and even with my audiences and my books, etc., I can be so vulnerable, so open. But then even with, say, my girlfriend, and even other relationships, at times it can be difficult for me to be as transparent on certain things. I don't know, and open it up to receive help. So in your instance, was it always like that, just y'all camaraderie, or how have you grown as a man to be able to receive that encouragement, receive that help and that aid? Or honestly, was it just like a match made, and like not a match made in heaven, but like a match made?
I think it's twofold, because one, it really depends on who the support is coming from. Because honestly, everybody has advice. Everybody wants to tell you how to do things or what you should do, but not everybody's really qualified to give you that advice. So it really depends on who it's coming from first. But two, to keep it simple, and you just gotta accept it. And luckily with my wife, we've built our relationship on a foundation of communication. So, and we're and my in-laws, they kind of, I'm not gonna say they're envious, but they really admire how my wife and I will have an argument or a disagreement, but we won't really leave each other's presence until we work it out, until we talk through it. No matter how difficult it is, or uncomfortable, we work that thing out, man. We really get to the root of what the issue is, and we really try to have find an understanding and not just argue for the sake of argument. So that's something that we've kind of mastered at that point. I'm not gonna I'm not going to sugarcoat that or lie about that. That's something we've definitely mastered. So when it comes to support, that's something that I was open to from the beginning with her. You know what I'm saying? And vice versa. So whether I'm willing to act on what she's trying to help me with or not, that's a separate conversation. But
Yeah.
yeah, we really built our relationship on a foundation of communication, listening. When I say listening, I mean intently listening. Listening for understanding, listening for clarity. So yeah, that's been huge for us.
So did you actually? I never asked this question. Did you go to college?
Yeah, I did, man. So I went to Baltimore City Community College, and I was actually on like my last couple credits before I dropped out. When my wife got pregnant. And actually went back some years later and got my associate's degree and then transferred over to Towson University. Never finished there though. Never finished there. And then by the time I was thinking about going back to school, I'm like, you know what? I don't need it.
Mm.
I don't need it. I'm good. And it's something that full transparency, me and my wife kind of go back and forth with all the time because she's full blown in the college camp and I'm full blown not in the college camp. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, you know what? No, don't need it. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm living proof what you need it for. You know what I'm saying? But she's like, no, no, not necessarily for me, but just in general. Like she's trying to go back and I support her. Finally it's been some years where I'm like, it's just a waste of money. You know, um, I'm not paying your student loans back for the next 30 years and whole nine, but no, I fully support her and anything she's trying to do with that. But yeah, that's that answer to that.
Yeah, man. So now, all right, now you have kids. So you have 4 kids. So how do you as a father balance between, of course, things got to get paid, but then also too, your family is just a bigger priority. So can you break us down your mindset now as opposed to a few years ago before you started your entrepreneurship journey? Because I just want our audience to kind of look at both sides.
Man, honestly, this is one of the biggest struggles that I deal with on a
Mhm.
daily basis is finding that balance because it's like night and day. Like I'm either all in the work or I'm all in the family.
Mhm.
So much so that my wife like, all right, shouldn't you be doing some work right now? And I'm like, no, I'm gonna spend this time with y'all. And I sometimes I find myself feeling guilty that I'm either working, too much. So I'll work and let's say I'll just go upstairs and kind of chill out with her. She's like, no, you don't have to. You know what I'm saying? You can go ahead and finish what you have to do. But then I'll feel bad or I'll be in the basement because that's where my office is. And I'll be feeling guilty. Like, I'm probably up there alone and bored, lonely and bored. But yeah, it's something that, I struggle with on a daily basis, but we still trying to figure things out. And luckily my wife, we kind of have a nice little situation right now where, I'll have some deep work periods and then I'll come up there and chill or she'll go out and I'll kind of, I'll handle the kids. I don't want to say watch the kids, that's they my kids, but the kids will be with me while she goes out and gets, some much needed rest, relaxation, just run some errands or, go to the movies with her mother or something like that. Um, so we kind of have that schedule like every week. Um, I'm trying to be a better steward of my time as well while I am working. So if something does come up, unexpectedly, or if she just wants to go out or what have you, then she can do that and not have to worry about am I impeding on what he has going on, or is he going to be there with the kids and be stressed out because he's thinking about work. So yeah, it's something that's figured out all the
Yeah.
way, but it's something that we're committed to working on a daily basis. And if you're an entrepreneur and you have a wife and kids, you know how it is, man. It's you just ebbs and flows. You just got sometimes you got to go with the flow and you got to figure things out. And it's tough, man, especially right now. So we have a 2 month
Wow.
old, a 1 year old, a 3 year old, and then a 10 year old. So
That's
having
good.
the youngest three. I know, man. It's crazy. I joke. It's like because we all home. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So it's like, boom, the kids coming out, pop, pop, pop. So it's like we got to try to slow down.
Did you ever imagine at 19, man, at 30 years old, you'd be a graphic designer of a 6-figure agency with a stay-at-home wife and 4 kids?
Definitely not. Definitely not. I didn't know, where my life was going to take me. Um, but no. And the last three, they came kind of fast. We had a gap. Nah, man. And to answer your question earlier, I know I forgot what it was, but I had taken computer graphics. That was a course in high
Oh,
school.
got you.
Yeah, I had taken it in high school, and it was something that I was really interested in then. And I had done a couple odd jobs here and there over the years. Like when I was at Target as security, one of the police officers that used to work overtime in there, I actually went out to her house and painted something on her daughter's wall or something crazy like that. So it was it was little things here and there, some drawings, and whatnot. So she knew I was into art.
Mm. So how do you, and I don't ask this question enough, but how do you organize your day now? Like, cause that's one thing when I jumped into business, that's one thing I had no clue. It's like, hold up, now when I wake up, you organize your day. No boss is telling you, hey, here's the objectives, here's the vision, here's the agenda. So in your business now, how do you set the vision, the mission, the agenda, your goals, etc.? I know that's a wide question, so you don't got to get too in the trenches with it, but from a holistic perspective, because there's a lot of people out there, because I always want to caution people about entrepreneurship. I love entrepreneurship, right? But you do realize you're jumping into something a lot of times, and specifically a majority of the time in Black business, where you're the first to do it. And there's no pipeline, there's no forecast, there's no principles, there's no rule book. It's just you. And some of us got an LLC. First 2 years, I didn't even have an LLC. You just out here getting it. So how have you over the years been able to design and start to get some protocols in it? But also too, how do you literally design your day?
Yeah, man. So we being transparent. This is something that it changes. It changes from time to time. So I'll get into a groove. Let's say start getting up early. And I have some things that I need to do every single day, whether it's in the morning, scheduled out, or if I just got to get it done, check it off my list. So this definitely prayer, devotion, meditation, do a little bit of reading, and also doing some planning and strategizing, whether that's for social media or just with the business in general. So, and I found that I pretty much have to take the whole morning for myself, and also work out. So by the time 8, 9 o'clock comes in the morning, I pretty much got all that stuff out the way.
So what time are you getting up?
So it really
I know it depends.
So I'm saying it changes.
Some days maybe
so,
4, 5. Then some days maybe a 7, boy.
Yep. So it's usually by 4 o'clock. That's like my cutoff because I'll set my alarm for like 2:33, and then I might snooze until like 4. So if I sleep in, it's like I'm still getting up.
What time do you go to bed?
So it's usually between like 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Okay.
But this is, like I said, it changes. So that's one. Let's say that's one option, and another option is a completely different shift where I'll work later in the day until like 12:30 in the morning, 12:30 like midnight, and then I'll sleep until like 7, and then I'll have to push all that stuff later into the day. You know what I'm saying? So, and it's the things I make sure I do every day. With my wife, non-negotiable is have breakfast, and we have lunch
every
together,
single day. Wow.
Yep. Every single day. She's just upstairs.
I'm about to say, bro, my girlfriend about to listen to this, and she about to, bruh, all the dudes that got wives, if they listen to this with their podcast or whatever, it's like, because my girlfriend listens to the podcast, she be like, bro, what? Every single day, lynching. I mean, of course, you live upstairs, but still, that's, man, what? Have you always been like that, man? I mean, since you create your own schedule?
No, it hasn't. It hasn't always been like that, but it's something that's kind of, found us. It's something we just kind of just started doing and making sure that we do. You know what I'm saying? And I think the fact that we got so many kids now, I've tried to take a lot of that stress of, okay, what do I got to cook today? Try to take that off of her. So, I try to make sure that, I'm either A, cooking, or B, going to Panera Bread, get some breakfast or something for us every morning. It's probably B more than it is A, honestly. But just making sure that I'm doing that, taking that load off her, because she has a lot on her already. And she, to be frank, she's watching the kids the majority of the day while I'm down here.
And those some young kids, 3, 2,
right,
3, 1, and 2 months.
In 2 months, yep.
Wow,
2 months. So it's a lot on her. So I try to take that off of her. So yeah. So if I wake up later, so let's say work till 12:30, 1 o'clock, wake up like 7:30, 8. I'm either going to cook or I'm going to grab something to eat. Then I'm gonna jump into the day. You know what I'm saying? So I'm saying that to say, it's not always the 4 a.m. boy. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's later. So right now, the shift that I'm on right now is definitely working later. I might even work overnight tonight because I'm behind a little bit on some projects. But But yeah, it's definitely some non-negotiable things that I have to make sure I get done every day. And it's never like sporadic where it's like 12:30 one night um and then try to wake up at 4 a.m. if I go to no, it's like either one or the other, and I'll go like a month straight on one type of schedule.
And even
So
on weekends too.
no, you know what? No, weekends actually are a little more lax, to be honest, because it's less pressure from clients and there's less going on. You just work wise in general. So
Yeah, and then the last question before we go to our rapid fire round, I got two more questions before we go to that. Um, what do you want your lasting legacy to be? Like in general, and it's
man,
all I know this is a wide question, but I know 30 years old right now, you got 4 kids, you got a bubbling design business, but at the end of the road, if you had to look at it, man, not to get too morbid, like what do you want that lasting legacy to be?
man, I think about this a lot, honestly. And I was selling life insurance, talking about caskets and all of
Yeah.
that, like on a daily basis. So, it's something that I think about a lot. And it's something that I don't want to say I struggle with it, but I wasn't really clear on it. And I'm still not, I still don't have 100% clarity on that just yet. But I do know, and this is something that's been revealed to me recently, is that I want to have major impact on a lot of lives, you know? Um, and it's something I kind of go back and forth with a lot because one part of me is like, okay, you should be a one man band. You're the talent. Like Eric Thomas, the business should revolve around you and your talent. But on the other hand, it's like, no, man, you should really try to grow this agency and really scale it so you can have a greater impact, not only on your clients, but on others, on the employees, on those who you can teach and train. Because in the graphic design space, there's just a lack of representation. And when I say that, I mean like African Americans. There's just not that many African Americans in graphic design. Not successful. You know what I'm saying? They may be doing mixtape covers and stuff like that, but not those who really are charging with their worth and really working with top tier clients. So I want to change that, and I want to change the perspective because even me having an interest in graphic design, I don't really look at it as like a viable career option. And when I got started. And then, it's another gentleman who was at the meetup, Patrick Pete, the gift coach.
Mm-hmm.
He asked me how much I wanted to make. I said, I'd be cool with like 80 grand. He was like, man, you can double that easy. And I thought he was crazy when he said that. And, a couple months later, we was on track to do that. And I'm like, wow, like I never knew, and this is with no training. So imagine if you put some training and some resources behind some of these kids, what they could really do in this space. So that's one of the things I'm looking forward to is, still figuring that out, but also having more of a lasting impact on, a larger group of people. Like even right now, like I'm thinking about the designs that I do and how, and if you're in marketing, about impressions and all of that, but how, just the designs I do, they have millions of impressions, not just through Eric Thomas, but through, a lot of my other clients. These designs, they're touching, whether it's a book cover or a website or social media graphics, business cards, they're touching a lot of people out there. They're being seen and they're making lasting impressions with my design. So I want to be able to multiply that, multiply myself and then multiply that. Because like, for example, a lot of our clients are speakers, coaches, and consultants. You got a fire book cover, that thing's going to sell more books than if it was like a whack book cover.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So that's more lives that can be touched from that person's story because they got a fire book cover, something as simple as that. And the same goes for, the website, social media graphics, your personal branding. And if your quality of your all your touch points is at the same level, that's more of an impact that you have. Why? Because that's more credibility that you have. That's more confidence that you'll have. So
being a black man and now your wife's a stay-at-home wife, you have 4 kids and now you have a business, even while doing well, that has to come with a lot of pressure, man. It has to, because even, and I think about all the times now, even as when things are going straight, but I'm like, yo, I'm gonna have to keep this up for the next 30 years. Like, what happened? So how do you deal with how do you deal with some of those pressures as far as specifically too? Because like I said, you're the only breadwinner, you have a huge family, and it's like, yo, and then dealing with, okay, now I think about retirement, thinking about savings, thinking about their futures, etc. Like, what do you do to deal with some of that pressure? Or do you see it as pressure?
It's extreme pressure. it is extreme pressure, but I deal with it a few ways. One of which is
Mm-hmm.
prayer. One of which is communication. And then another is making necessary adjustments because I'm thinking about legacy all the time. Now I have 4 kids, so that's 4 college tuitions most
Mm-hmm.
likely. You know what I'm saying? And I'm blessed because this is a source of pressure and a blessing at the same time. Like being connected with Eric Thomas, that the family of companies that we have, it's a lot of pressure to succeed. Like, oh, okay, so we got these companies. Okay, 120. How are y'all doing? If y'all not killing it, it's y'all not which well, y'all not going 120. So it's pressure to stay
Mm-hmm.
120 and live 120 at all
Mm-hmm.
times. But the blessing in that is the information, the resources that I'm connected to now, and one of which is Jamal
Mm-hmm.
King, who's part of the ETA family now. He goes by 9 to 5 Millionaire
Oh yeah, I heard this
on
story, man. Blew me
yep,
away. I'm like,
yeah,
this dude with the
yep, and his
this
yep,
dude.
exactly. If you don't know who he is, he's a Chicago police officer to this day, getting ready to retire, but he's a multimillionaire.
Uh-huh.
What police officer do you know is a multimillionaire? Why? Because he has several. He's been in real estate for over 20 years. He has several businesses that he started and grown to multi-million-dollar businesses each. So being connected with him, like I work on his graphics, but he's on generational wealth. That's his whole thing, generational wealth. So just thinking more about generational wealth. What can I do now that I can pass on to my children? If I die today, my son, he's not about to pick up, a stylist and start designing something. You know what I'm saying? So like, how can I position this agency to
Mm-hmm.
be in a better position to provide generational wealth, and not just this, but in other areas. So whether it be real estate, and things of that nature. So that's something that I'm planning, and I'm trying to get pieces in place to make sure that I'm in position to provide for my family for generations to come. So that's something that kind of takes the pressure off.
Mm. All right, man. So that's phenomenal stuff right now. So now we're gonna go to the rapid fire round. I got 5 rapid fire questions. Hopefully we get rapid fire answers, and then you ready to rock?
Yes,
What's the
sir.
best piece of advice that you have never received?
I've never received. Wow. Um, Man, I don't think I've ever heard this question asked to anybody, let alone myself. Lord, one of the main things that I think about often is just trust your spouse. You know what I'm saying? Because like, if I would have listened to my wife, and she's kind of egged me on when it comes to graphic design in the past, if I would have listened to her a long time ago, I would have been in this lane, a long time ago. But I know, everything happens for a reason, and everything happens on God's time and not our timing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess it was destined to happen the way it did. That's something that's always in the back of my head. Like, man, if you just listen to her, women, they're more mature than us anyway. And my wife, she's way beyond her years. But yeah, I would say, man, just listen to your spouse. Man. They not trying to hurt you. They're not trying to sabotage you. They trying to do what's best. So, Greg, I know you're not married yet, but have lunch and stuff with your girl, man.
Yeah, dang, I got you. I got you. All right, man. If you dang, if you could add one habit and take away one habit, what would they be?
I will say probably take away my habit of Netflix. I'll say take that away. Me and my wife, look, man, we'll get into a show and we'll binge watch that whole thing until it's
Easy.
done.
Yup.
Yeah. Like, oh yeah, we got kids. What they doing? No. And then add a habit. I would say add a habit of saving.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. We can talk
Yeah.
about that on another podcast.
Yeah. I don't have that. My wife has that habit. I don't have that habit.
Yeah,
I'm
nah.
like, earn, how the whole philosophy, earn more. Don't say more, earn more.
Because it's hard because sometimes you're like, well, if I have a good month, I can get it right back. Like, or
Right.
it's like, that's not, I don't know. It's a bad mindset. It's a good mindset and a bad mindset. You feel me?
Yep.
What is your favorite book and why?
Favorite book? I would say it's probably a tie, man. What's it called? It's called Burn Your Portfolio. What they don't teach in design school, but should. That book really changed a lot of the ways we were doing business early
Mhm.
on. So that's been incredible. It's by Michael Janda. And then my second be a tie is called Traction. Get a grip on your business. So that's a book that will help position your business to be a multi-million-dollar business right now when it's not. You know what I'm saying? So it really gives you the ins and outs of how those businesses operate with larger teams, so you can really get the root and the foundation of your business together. So that's something that I'm really diving into and doing some repairs, because things blew up so fast that we kind of jumped over a lot of the steps. You know, where it's like, okay, what are the core values? You know, what is our employee handbook? Like, what is that stuff? You know, what is the culture? It's like we just jumped right in and really flew over a lot of those initial steps that businesses have in place. So yeah, traction, and then burn your portfolio. But if I had to pick one, I would definitely pick burn your portfolio.
And if you had to, what do you think, up to this point, what has been your biggest win in business? And then you could say business and life. And I know probably where you're going to go with life, but I just want to hear you say it.
I would just say flexibility. Having a flexibility. Because I don't really want to say freedom, because, you know, we people like to paint the picture of freedom. Because if you're an entrepreneur, man, you're working harder than you would on a 9 to 5.
Man, there's no freedom.
You know what I'm saying? So, right. But yeah, definitely more flexibility. Like, I have complete control over what I'm doing, when I'm doing it, unless I'm under like a major deadline. But like, like I said, my grandma's in the hospital, I could go see her right now. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to answer anybody. I don't have to, nobody has to tell me yes or no. I want to take half a day off, a full day off, I can do it. I want to go to Florida for a week. Like, we getting ready to go to Florida, and then family reunion in North Carolina. So I'm gonna be gone for like, almost 2 weeks, and I'll still be able, if I have to work some. You know what I'm saying? Because I'll have my laptop with me. I have a phone on me, got the hotspot, so I'm good. So just having that flexibility. Whereas if I was at a 9 to 5, you know how that goes. Like, it's tough. It's tough.
And then the last question of the rapid fire: if you were the president of the United States, what's the first thing you would do?
They put more money into education in urban schools, in those type of school districts.
Nah, that's real enough, man. So we done with that, man. And every single person I've ever had in this show, I call a culture change agent. And this last question, which is outside of the culture change round, man, I've asked every single person on this podcast that's ever done after 110 episodes to date. If you could change one thing about society, most specifically our African American culture, what would it be and why?
I would have to say being intentional about financial literacy. Because I think not being financially literate is holding a lot of us back, us as Black people. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's terrible. People don't know the power that they have. They don't know the power of their dollar, power of our dollar. Spending money on frivolous things and with companies that don't care about us. And then, like I said, not saving, something that I struggle with. Not thinking long term when it comes to certain purchases, just going out and getting, and I've been guilty a lot of this. Getting the car because you got the job, but your interest rate is crazy. And you're gonna be paying that thing back with, gonna be almost double what you thought it was initially. A lot of that is holding us back because we aren't taught that. We aren't taught that. So that's why, when you ask me about the president, I'm like, we got to put more money in education, schools. We got to teach financial literacy.
That's real, man. That's real, man. So with that being said, man, it's been a phenomenal show, man. You've given a lot of gems, shared a lot of your story. So first and foremost, I want to thank you for being on.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me. This has been incredible. Probably the most fun I've had on one of these.
And then last, but where can people find more information about you, your company, what you do in the design work, and all the services you offer and all that good stuff?
Yes, sir. So you can check us out at 120designstudio.com. That's the number 120designstudio.com. Also, we're on Facebook and Instagram at 120 Design Studio. You can also find me on Instagram at Marshall Fox. That's MarshallFox. 2 L's on Marshall, 1 X on Fox.
So Minority Troublers in Nation, make sure you, after the show, man, Definitely let him know how good of an episode it is, all that great stuff, man. And check out his work. Also, too, as always, make sure you do one thing and one thing only: change the freaking culture. Good night.